The next tool in the toolbar I want to take a look at is the text tool. The text tool, you can see there's a few different options here: horizontal, vertical, and then horizontal type mask tool, and then vertical type mask tool. We're just going to look at horizontal type tool right now. This makes it very easy for us to draw text on our photos, or if we're going to make a graphic in Photoshop, this is the main way we would add text. So we're going to say, this is my photo. It's very, very small right here, and it's still actually pulled in this green color that I selected from using the ink dropper earlier. There are some basic options right here at the top, so I can make it a little bit bigger. Let's try maybe 100. And I can center it. I can switch the font up, see what options we have here. So yeah, not a ton of options, but you can see there is a lot of things, at least to get us moving with different text. I can easily change the color. And one thing, just looking at the color picker, it allows us to kind of scale through, pick different colors. One thing to think about as you're doing this, because we're focused on making images for the web, is select web-only colors. This will select the RGB colors that we can actually use on the web. CKNY colors, there's a much larger array of images, colors that we can use. But for the web, we're kind of limited in certain ways. So selecting web-only colors, make sure you actually pick a color that will show up properly on the web. For this example, let me just pull black, or let me go white. And one other thing I want to mention is the hexadecimal number, and this is a combination of R, G, and B, and you can see that it changes, but it's a 6-digit combination of numbers or letters that just signifies the color. So if you see this, usually it has a pound sign ahead of it. That's called the hexadecimal number. Okay. Go ahead and hit OK here. So I have some text on my image. You can see that it's not separated really well from the background, but we already took a look at the blur tool, so we could, if we wanted to, we could blur out the background or do whatever else to really make there enough contrast so people could read that well. The next tool I want to look at is the rectangle tool. The rectangle tool, if we go ahead and click on it, you can see this is essentially the shape tool. We get a lot of different things we can do here. Remove that. So we can do a round rectangle tool, and we'll get some different options for that. One big key one to pay attention to is radius. This is just how much the actual rounding is on the rounded rectangle tool, and I'll show you that in a second. The ellipse tool, polygon, line tool, and then we have the custom shape tool. If I were to select that, you can see if I go up here to the top, they have some built-in shapes I can go ahead and add. And there's different websites where you can go to and actually download different shapes, but we're just looking at this kind of in a basic sense right now. So let me go ahead and just select, say, the line tool. Say I want to underline this text. So all I have to do is I can just hold down and draw it to the right. I'm keeping it a straight line by holding down Shift. So if I wasn't holding down Shift, it would maybe not go exactly perpendicular to the rest of my image. Take that off. And a few things you may have started to notice in the layers area is that we're starting to add more layers to our image. So of course our first layer acted as our background, so that's the bottom one. But now I have a text layer and a shape layer. Let me go ahead and draw a quick rectangle just so we can get an idea of how all this stuff works. So let me just draw this right here. Close this properties area down real quick. So I have this box, and you can see that I added a shape right here on the right along with my line. And this layers area works a lot like if you've ever seen one of those old cartoon books where you flip through it and things change. What's on top is what you'll see first. So if I go ahead and put this main image on top, that's so big it covers everything else up because these things are behind it. If I then put the text on top of that, the text is on top. And then if I put the shape in front of that, you'll see that the shape's in front of the text. If I put it behind the text, it's now behind the text. So it's a kind of an easy concept to be thinking about, but just pay attention because not only do you have to have these in the right order if things overlap so you can see everything, but when you start wanting to work on different layers, you need to make sure you select it first, and then you can start to work on that layer. I'm going to go ahead and just take this off just with the eye tool. If I want to actually get rid of this layer, I can select it and go down to the garbage can and just delete it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up just a little bit. Let's put a rectangle tool, and I'll just kind of have this as a bar behind my text. And it's kind of nice. We have the properties area right here, so if I want to change anything, if I, we haven't talked about strokes yet, but strokes are borders on things like text and boxes and images. I could go ahead and select right here and add a color for the stroke. Let's try black. And I can change the thickness of that if I'd like. Let me go ahead and bring it back to about move back to 3 point. And it'll give me some more options. So if I, for whatever reason, wanted jagged, one nice thing for even a border like this, you might not think you'd use it all the time, but if you're creating maybe a print ad for a newspaper or something to give the idea like it's supposed to be cut out, this is a nice border to add. Okay, so that's it for now out here. And one other thing to think about, we talked about the move tool right in the beginning. If I decided I wanted to move this down and see this isn't centered exactly right here, I could select the move tool and make sure I'm selecting on the correct layer, and I can just go ahead and either with the arrows on my keyboard press it down and move it, or just pick it up and move it right here. The last two things I want to talk about on the toolbar are the zoom tool, which if I select right here, I can zoom in on my image. You'll know that you can zoom in. All you have to do is click. You'll know you can zoom in if you have a plus sign. So you can go in very, very close. And if I want to zoom out, I can hold down Option on my keyboard, and you'll see that with the negative sign, I can go ahead and zoom back out. Now, like we were looking at earlier, if I was going to cut something out, or I really want to get close, even like the dodging and burning, if I really want to get close in here, I can really focus on specific pixels and make sure I do a really good job. So when I actually zoom out, you can see it would be quite a bit more seamless. The next thing I want to look at here is just our background and foreground colors that we have in the tool palette. These are things that we can use throughout the site, or throughout editing our images with setting a background color for a rectangle or text or whatever else. We already mentioned the web-only colors, but I can go ahead and select these. And I don't know, I'll just grab some random colors here. But then we can start to add some other things to our image. We could, if I was going to draw more text, it's going to actually come in as yellow. See right there, let me just get rid of that. Another way we could use this is with the gradient tool. So I've just pulled a couple of colors right here. If I click on the gradient tool, my first option will be a combination of those two. And the way it works, I can do this to the image right here. And actually, let me get rid of this extra text. I can go and pull through. You can see it's going to be pretty strong here and cover up my image, but I can start to add different gradients to my image. It's coming in kind of strong. But if I was going to do, maybe select just this blue color. You can see I'm starting to get a little bit gradient over my image right now. If I go a little bit higher, it'll kind of fade in. You can obviously play around with this a little bit more. It's just basically showing you what it does. Let's spend a little bit of time, and we get some different ways to add gradients. So not just kind of the basic one, fade from top to bottom, or any way I want to draw it, but I can also do from out to in. Step back so you can see that. one more. So I do the inside to out. I can do the same thing, but kind of like either focus it strictly on the middle, or depending on which direction I go with it, pull it in from there, or do it kind of like a star from the inside out